Hey y'all, welcome back. So, I have an update for all of you. If you have been following my Twitch channel, if you have been keeping up with my socials, um, you guys, most majority of you would know that I just went through a very invasive surgery for a abdominal myomectomy. I had this surgery on May 19th, which was approximately literally 2 weeks ago. As of today, I have been cleared to go back to work with conditions that I work remotely. Also, my incision has completely healed on the exterior, but I do have still a lot of healing on the inside that is going on. I still feel like some pains when I do certain movements and things like that. So I'm still recovering, but ultimately, I am. I am at least able to like get around, move around, play the game like I normally do. I have a regular taste bud. Like my appetite is pretty large, things like that. So I'm doing good. I'm doing well. My recovery so far has been very speedy, and I definitely want to send a thank you and appreciation to everybody in the community that has been praying for me, checking on me, just sending me good vibes and good energy because, y'all, it has done great wonders having such a support and such a community like you guys to really just like look out for me, especially like with the subscribers, the donations, the amount of pour and love that you guys have been showing me. I really do truly appreciate every single last one of you. And shout out to the homies that always pull up, make time to sit down in Discord and VC with me, playing the game with me. I really appreciate y'all because it kept me from having extreme boredom, let me tell you. Because sitting in the bed for 2 weeks just recovering, it was very tough. It's very like any type of recovery after a surgery, it's very hard. It's a lot of stress on the body because you can't, I mean, depending on where you have your surgery, you really don't have the luxury to like sleep how you want. And for me, my abdominal myomectomy was pretty much a C-section cut. So, of course, I could not sleep on my stomach. It was very painful to attempt to try to sleep on my side because it's like the incision was healing when it was very fresh. Like it was just not too much that I could do. Even getting up to go do simple things like using the restroom was very, very challenging. It was very painful, very discomforting. Like, whew, I don't wish that on nobody. But aside from all of that, thank God that it's only 2 weeks. So I've been good. Like actually yesterday was my first day getting back outdoors. I spent the day with my brother and his partner and we had some fun. We went to go see the movie Obsession. This video is probably gonna be a little slightly long because I wanted to touch on quite a few things and I don't want to have to revisit this type of conversation too much because this is very, very, it's very personal for me. Um, Also, I am sharing my vulnerabilities, if that makes sense. Like, this is not like it's not easy for me to have these type of conversations, especially on in the sense of a media um platform, and I'm also talking to myself, but I know a lot of my supporters and you guys are going to hear this message and will more likely be responding to some of the things that I say and your support in the comments. But the first thing I want to touch on is my mental state up until the day of my surgery. I feel like I kind of Actually, no, let me rewind. Let me start with how I discovered that I had these fibroids in the first place. I've been aware of them for at least 3 years now. Um, from those 3 years, I have gone through quite a lot of like opinions with different doctors who were supposedly experts in the area of fibroids, removing them, or at least methods of reducing the size of them and things like that of that nature. My prior consultations pretty much led me nowhere. I'm not going to like, throw the doctors or anybody under the bus or speak on the hospitals where I visited, for safety purposes. I don't know how far left that can go airing out certain things or details. But anyway, um the one thing that they have all in common recommended to me was to do birth control, um, maybe potentially do a laparoscopic surgery, which is basically like they go in with like a smaller incision and they like basically like shrink the fibroids to a smaller size. So that way it's more manageable, maybe somewhat improve the quality of your life. But they never really looked into my situation, and my concerns about the pains that I was having whenever I was on my menstrual cycle, things of that nature. So fast forward, I was recommended to this doctor through pretty much a family member of mine who went through a surgery similar to me. I think she did the laparoscopic surgery, but she recommended this doctor. I went, got my consultation, and on the first consultation, first thing, my doctor, she was black. Okay. I just got to put that in there. She was black. Also, second, she pretty much laid out all of my options, not just one or two. She wasn't biased. She wasn't trying to push me in any certain type of direction or decision. She gave me all the options I had and told me to do research on them to see which option I felt like would be the best for me. Um, the last and final option, just to point out, would basically be the removal of my wound. Okay. Um, but she was somebody who, despite the discomfort of what some of the options were, was very comfortable with her expertise and the fact that she was very transparent and very open about what my options were and what she could do depending on each of those options that I might be able to do. Now, mind you, this is just the initial consultation. So I had a follow-up appointment. They needed to do an ultrasound to check to see what the size of my fibroids were because they weren't aware. They really didn't have record of what my fibroid history was, even though my chart had information with the other hospitals that I had, visited and things like that. There was some record of the size, but it wasn't current. It wasn't recent. It was actually from like 2 years ago or something. So I had my follow-up appointment. Also, the quickness of how quick I was able to get these appointments was amazing to me because, well, I could tell y'all part of my struggle going through previous medical groups, they weren't the timeliness of being able to get appointments like quicker or just having a shorter gap in the timeliness of being able to get certain appointments was too far out. It would be like between 3 to 6 months before I could get an appointment for me to get an ultrasound. And I needed to have it done specifically around the time that I am on my cycle, mainly because they needed to have a more accurate reading on what the size of the fibroids were. I could never get an appointment. And then when I did get appointments for my ultrasound, they always canceled it. And that grew a lot of frustration. I was just tired. So when I got this recommendation about this doctor, I was immediately like, I'll take whatever potential better situation I can get. So just to give y'all a little backstory. Anyway, after having my ultrasound appointment, they did determine that I had a pretty large fibroid that they guesstimated to be around 9 centimeters. Now, that's pretty big. And when you think of 9 centimeters, think of it as the size of like, I don't know, like a grapefruit or like a melon, some type of melon. Like that's pretty big. Um, Now, they couldn't get an accurate reading in the ultrasound because they know that there were more in there just versus the biggest one that they were able to detect. So the next recommendation that my doctor gave me was to get an MRI completed. I did follow through. I went, got the MRI. Following that result, which I'll show you here, this little thing on the screen. This is my MRI read. I don't know how to read that, but I just wanted to show y'all. Um, well, they not only were they able to get maybe a better scan of how big the fibroids were, they were able to get more of a estimated number of how many I had, and it was also the discovery of me being diagnosed with endometriosis. So because of that, that potentially opened up potential complications for my upcoming surgery. Well, at the time, I'm speaking past tense, of course, for my myomectomy. My doctor called me and she basically informed me that because of the location of my endometriosis, and there's apparently different forms of it. In my case, the scar tissue had pretty much kind of grown near my colon. And what she described to me is that with endometriosis, sometimes it makes the texture of your, tissue kind of like sticky, like a sticky residue or something like that. So because of that, they said that sometimes organs can attach to the areas that are affected by the endometriosis. And because of that, it was near my colon. She had concerns that during the surgery, there is a risk that she may accidentally cause a tear in my colon or puncture a hole. And she recommended that a special colon team basically be on standby during my surgery. Now, she had to bring this to my attention, of course, because she was giving me the opportunity to either say, no, I don't want to do the surgery if I felt like the concerns were so great that it would cause me even greater, like, discomfort or, worsen the quality of my life. She gave me that decision. She made sure that I was aware of the risk involved. Despite the information that she gave me, I decided to continue to move forward with the surgery. So, I think it was maybe like a week or two in the span of after my MRI. This was back in, I want to say, mm, I forgot. I forgot when the appointments were, but it was like a couple of weeks. And I was now making preparations for the surgery. So there was quite a lot of things that I had to do. Personally, I just changed my diet to certain things. I cut sugars drastically. There's just certain things I wasn't eating. On top of that, I did have to get I was prescribed medication to kind of prep for the surgery. And they described it as basically it was medication to kind of like potentially help reduce the size of the fibroids up until the day of the surgery and to kind of regulate the cycle in a sense so that way it won't be so intense when it came for time for me to have the surgery. Long story short, of course, I decided to continue on with this. It was pretty much a month of preparation up until the day of my surgery. Not only that, making sure my employer was aware that I would be out of work due to this and recovering. I had to submit my FMLA and all the paperwork and all those things, whatever. I had to basically time everything out to make sure that I wouldn't also F up my life in the process. But yeah, all the planning went accordingly as it is. Now we're at the day of my surgery. Everything went fine. I prayed about it. My family prayed about it. My support prayed about it. And thank God, the surgery was done without complications. Colon team did not have to step in at any point. She even mentioned that the fibroids were actually nowhere near close to my colon, so it was easy for them to be able to go in and remove them. Now, I'm going to show y'all a quick picture of the fibroids and the size of them. Damn! Them jokers were pretty big, y'all. That's been in my body for years. And now I'm telling you guys, I've known about them for at least 3 years. They've probably been there longer than that because I've always had very painful, like, menstrual cycles. I never knew the reason or the cause of it was because I had endometriosis. Thankfully, I know now and that I'm not crazy because, yeah, the transition of different doctors that I had to go through because they weren't listening to me was very frustrating, to say the least. But I'm glad I got the clarity of that. Now, um, I'm gonna give y'all a quick wrap up of just like overall what my weight was prior to this surgery. It was like 106. I was 167 pounds, but I fluctuated between like 167 to like 170. I now today I weight at 150 pounds. Oh my gosh, I lost a lot of weight following the aftermath of that surgery. Can you imagine? And hear me out. as total mass of all my fibroids together, they removed 7. That it was about 600 and something grams. When I did the math, it basically equated to be roughly around like maybe 1.5, maybe to 2 pounds. So that's not even 10 pounds. And I'm thinking to myself, how was it that I was able to lose more than 10 pounds if the fibroids itself not even weighted that much? Well, after a lot of self-reflection and just going through my emotions and thinking about everything, I realized that a lot of that weight probably was caused by stress, mental stress. And I'm now going into my second part of just, between just a timeline of even before the decision of me to have the surgery was made, I want to say the last 2 years or so, where I've been at emotionally and mentally has been very, very challenging. And as of today, it's been very insightful for me to just kind of look back on just like my behaviors and like things that I did and just like how I viewed myself. Um, and I'm just gonna say, prior to the removal of my fibroids, emotionally, it kind of just like it left some feels of self abandonment, me not loving myself, and a lot of grief. The more alone that I felt, it was almost like the more sure I became that like I needed to kind of lean more on myself and just being alone. Um like I know after the surgery I was going to need to just rest um and heal and be with myself, to pretty much endure the silence and seeing myself more, because I've dealt with a lot even prior up to the surgery. Well, you're not going to even go into that, but y'all just know that your girl has been through some trials and tribulations. Okay, but I say this because I realized that I aligned my womb with how I valued myself. And in a lot of ways, I also aligned my womb with how a man would value me if I could not create life. And I'm trying not to be emotional about it because sometimes it still affects me a little bit. Like, I definitely have the potential to bear a child if I want to. I actually have no interest in having any more kids, but granted that I actually meet my husband and I'm married in the future, I would like to still be open and giving him the opportunity to have a child. So with that being said, I'm okay. I'm completely fine with not having any more kids, but I'm also willing to have more kids. Like, if that makes sense. Um, but I've now come to this resolution with the greatest humility that and gratitude that God has given me um while restoring my faith because I had to speak. I had to speak to my heavenly mother and father and thank them for their generosity because um in a lot of ways God spoke to me and said to wait and to be patient and to move with grace. I also have been reminded by somebody I dearly care about that I need to hold on to my faith and not worry about things that haven't even happened yet. To just have an understanding that what's for me is for me. And I thank him for telling me that. But aside from that, y'all, mentally, I just was going through a lot. You know, I probably even may have in some ways impacted some of the people in my life who I appreciate and love dearly because of the way that I was thinking and things I was saying. And I was saying a lot of things out loud as well that may have impacted some people. It may have changed the way that they think about me. But I was going through those things personally. And when you got a phone in your hand, sometimes you just don't be thinking and you just be putting stuff out there and you just be speaking negatively. So, with that being said, I caused myself a lot of stress. I caused a lot of stress on myself that wasn't even created by other people. But I also was technically going through a lot of things as well that wasn't caused by me that also impacted how much of that stress that I was receiving and dealing with. But I'm in a very good place now. So don't worry, y'all. But it was a lot of it was a lot going on. It was a lot of challenges I was dealing with emotionally, physically, and spiritually, to say the least. My soul was impacted by a lot of the stuff that was going on. I didn't know what to think of myself. I didn't know how to value myself. I was comparing myself to other women who were able to have children, or letting just it was a lot of stuff. Okay, like I'm not gonna go into all the details, but I just wanted to share and just be vulnerable with you guys that, like, I didn't always have it together. I know I'm like this positive person. I try to pour into others a lot of times, but there were moments I felt like nobody was pouring back into me, that I felt alone, and I'm grateful that I actually have the opportunity to be with myself, to kind of like have a better understanding of myself as an individual, as a woman, and that motherhood does not define who I am as a woman, or even as a mother. And I'm good now, y'all. Like, I'm good. But y'all should have seen my weight. I should have took a picture before. I should have took before and after pictures. Cause it's crazy. I don't look pregnant anymore. Like, I'm just like noticing that my shape that I was used to, my physique, it's like starting to actually like come back. I'm starting to feel like I'm in my body again. Like, I feel myself again, and I feel good and I look good. Okay. But aside from that, I think my next video, I'm probably going to touch more on just the whole process of going through a abdominal myomectomy, because I know there's a lot of women out there who are probably in the middle of trying to make a decision on if they want to go through this surgery or not. If you are in that situation, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than willing to share you my insight, or at least my experience with you on how I went through the process. Maybe it will help you. But I also want to just put this out there and put this in the air. If you are considering having a surgery of this magnitude, please choose yourself. If you feel like it's going to improve the quality of your life, just do it. Go through it. Okay. Also, like, make sure you do your research on it, okay? I know there's not a lot of tons of information out there, but um, doctors as well as women who've experienced this are being more vocal. There's so many support groups around that focuses on women who are dealing with large fibroids and things of this nature, because it's something that needs to be addressed more because it's so common, and it's very common for Black women. And I think we just need to, well, I don't even want to get into all the political stuff, but um you know, choose you. You're not crazy. The pain is not in your head. You're actually going through something, and there, go find the right doctors, because if your doctor is telling you, "Oh, we can't do anything for you," I'm going to be the first person to tell you they're freaking lying in your face. That is not true. It's just that sometimes doctors don't want to do the procedure. They don't want to do the surgery because there are risks. But there are doctors who are amazing and great with their hands. God bless them with the hands to be able to remove those fibroids. So do your research. And I'm going to pray for you, sisters. Okay. But yeah, I just wanted to like give y'all like this quick update. I know this was pretty long, but it felt necessary to say the least, because I haven't posted a video in a while, and I was trying to figure out a way to kind of reintroduce myself to y'all. But to say the least, this will continue to be a gaming channel. I will be posting more content for you guys in the near future. Maybe I won't say this week because I ain't gonna lie, I'm trying to be outside. But in the next coming weeks, definitely be on the lookout for some videos. I recently played through 007, which was amazing. It was really fun. I streamed it on Twitch through my console. I was clearly not able to really stream at my desk because I was heavily recovering from the surgery. But I will probably be posting that too. I'm not on cam, so like hopefully I don't, be tripping out too much about me not being on video, but at least y'all get voice audio. But anyway, I will be going live on Twitch today, so if you guys want to pop in, say hi. If you have any questions, if you're a woman who are dealing with the decision of getting a myomectomy, feel free to stop by and ask me any questions. Feel free to leave any comments, and if y'all don't want to do that, feel free to follow my socials and hit me up there as well. But I hope y'all have an amazing remainder of your day. And until next time, see y'all later. Bye.